Hello, this is just going to be a weird, short, sort of informal tutorial, but I just wanted to show some stuff about how I made these water effects that I've been using. First of all, I tried out doing some real-time simulation using things like Flex and stuff like that. It worked pretty well, but it's set to a certain area, which I knew would end up being hard working, trying to make a big, large, open kind of thing. And it also takes a certain particular version of the engine and then using that together with the community project I wasn't ready to deal with right now, so I ended up, well, also there was the problem of it was just a visual kind of particle. It had some other items, if you ran it the same way, that could interact with that water, but to precisely control where it's going and then how it triggers things and stuff would be a lot more of a problem. So I decided to fake it in different ways so that it could still look at least somewhat like water but have more precision of control. For the cyclone effect, I used an Alembic file, which is something that's semi-recently gotten support in Unreal. It's just like an animation, but instead of with a skeleton, it's an animation of every single vertice in an object. First, I made the Alembic effect in Blender, and let's see here. I don't know a lot about water simulation in Blender. I looked up, what I could find about it and stuff. I first tried to make a sort of cyclone look by making a cylinder and then spraying water through it at high speed kind of in the simulation and then letting it tube around. But it ended up, even when I tried to do it really high res, it ended up sort of pixelating on the outside here. Like you can see it was sort of sticking to the tube. So I didn't end up using that effect. I'll show that here real quick. Okay, so I made this effect. I started the water at the top and then it went down, and then I would just reverse it to make this sort of thing where it's gathering up, which looks kind of cool, but I couldn't get it to not stick to the outside. So it looks nice on the inside, bad on the outside. So what I ended up using was I just used a cylinder and then made it emit water out the top and rendered that. So it's actually just a big water fountain, and then I just made that move around. According to which direction you're facing when you set it off, it'll just move along the ground. And then also I made a little splash effect, which you can see here. This one's running kind of longer than I usually run it, but I'll run that first burst there, just when the character is going to do an effect like this cyclone, or I think I use it with the rain too. This little burst one here, I think, was just a hollow cylinder emitting water. So the materials that I used for the Alembic files, they're kind of picky about what kind of material they have on them, so I just have right here, it's called temp water. It's just a really basic, like, clear, I think it has a little bit of refraction or whatever that's called in the material. Yeah, refraction. That's about as fancy as I could get it. Okay. Let me look at this again and see if there is anything else I wanted to show of this effect. Oh. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, I guess I was running the spray thing during the whole effect. So it's running along the bottom, and then the big spray is the top part, so it's got sort of a ring going around it. And then as it moves along, it just ray casts down at the ground every once in a while and drops just a decal. It's just a decal of some splotchiness that's shiny. I'm pretty sure I just made it in GIMP with a splotchy brush. just to make it look like it's leaving a wet trail behind. As for this spray effect, this one's kind of weird. It's actually, I made just a little tube shape. Actually, I used one of the default ones in the engine. And then I attached it to the character. So you actually can't see it right now, but there's a cylinder that's attached to the character. And then when he's ready to spray, let me do this here real quick. Alright, when he's ready to spray, he just ray casts forward from the camera and sees what he hits first, so like this building for instance. And then when I click to spray, it uses a timeline to sort of blurb it, but it'll just expand, it'll just lengthen that cylinder, and the cylinder's root is at the bottom of it, so it just expands in one direction. It'll just expand it out to reach the target. I just had to do a little bit of experimenting to see, you know, with the size of the cylinder, what size would make it reach the distance that I wanted. I think it ended up being about like half the ray cast distance that I got or something, but it probably just depends on what shape you end up using on what it's going to do. And then I just put some spray particles at the beginning. I actually need to fix them a bit because you can see at the bottom, you can sort of see the end of the cylinder, which looks kind of weird. And then I put some spray particles at the end, and I also used that ray cast to figure out the angle of what it was hitting and stick some decals on there to make it look like it was getting wet. See? Ooh. And the material is an interesting one, but I don't remember. I didn't make it. I used a few different water materials in this game. There were some that are just default, you know, starter content water. Some that I think I found in online, like there's an extra Unreal Engine Epic Games water pack or something. Had some good materials in it, and then some of the materials like the spray effects, like this one here, and the ones that are being used when spraying water came from the Community Ocean project that I used. Okay, rain was pretty simple. I just used that same splash effect at the beginning just to make it look like there was a little something happening at the start, and then I did just a backwards falling particle, little raindrops, and then a bigger one of them falling down again at the location that he targets. Then of course recasting downward to get the wet spots here, and then just some cloud-looking particles overhead. So backwards, oops, and then falling down there. Those clouds aren't super great, but yeah, and that's about the gist of how these worked. It's pretty just little tricks. That one's just that same weird water material and a splashing. Yeah, this material in particular is interesting because it makes like a clear outside layer and then it's weird wobbly inside. Like if you apply it to a shape that's sitting there, it looks really weird, like just this glass tube with water inside it, but works kind of well. Alright, I hope that was at all helpful. Just tell me if you have any questions. Thanks.